some of the major stories. Manchester City suffers shocking defeat against Real Madrid at Bernabeu. Molly Abdullah Stadium crowned Stadium of the Year. Cameron Norrie to clash with Carlos Alcaraz in the quarterfinals at Indian Wells. More of this in the news. I am Banky O. Manchester City face an enormous task to keep their Champions League ambitions alive after Federico Valverde's brilliant first-half hat-trick put Real Madrid in control of the last 16 meeting. Real Madrid tormented City with a display of the highest class despite the absence of injured pair Kylian Mbappe and Jude Bellingham, as well as long-time absentee Rodrigo, as they had enough firepower to punish City's defensive frailties. Real's opener was simplicity itself. Keeper Thibaut Courtois long pass dropping behind Nico Riley for Valverde to round the onrushing Gianluigi Donnarumma to score from a tight angle. The Uruguayan doubled Real Madrid advantage 7 minutes later with a low finish across Donnarumma before he completed his hat-trick in superb style, collecting a delightful ball, lofted through a ball, Collecting a delightful, lofted through ball, the Real Madrid captain showed great invention to lift the ball over McGay in a tight space before beating Donnarumma on the volley. City looked to be plunging further into trouble on the hour when Real Madrid were awarded a penalty after Donnarumma brought down Vinicius, but Donnarumma dived to his left to save the penalty. A costly error by Chelsea goalkeeper Philip Jorgensen sparked the late collapse as Kvicha Kvaratskhelia double gave Champions League holders Paris Saint-Germain a 3-goal lead going into next week's last 16 second leg tie. Chelsea had played well, bringing the score back to 2-2, but Jorgensen's pass straight to PSG's Bradley Barcola before being loved by Vitinha left the European champions, restoring their lead for the third time at the Parc des Princes. However, substitute Kvicha Kvaratskhelia caught a wonderful strike from the edge of the box before giving Chelsea a bounty to climb by making it 5-2 with a side-footed finish with virtually the last kick of the match. Barcola opened the scoring with a powerful shot through several Chelsea bodies and inside the near post after Ousmane Dembele's cross was nodded into his path, but Malo Gusto equalized for Chelsea, shooting past the unconvincing goalkeeper Matvei Safanov after Enzo Fernandez picked out his run. Just 14 seconds after Kopama struck a straight shot and Safanov from inside the penalty area, Dembele was celebrating, putting PSG back in front with a very fantastic counter-attacking football. Antonin Kingsley has thanked those who have sent in messages of support on social media after a nightmare display in Tottenham's Champions League collapse at Atletico Madrid on Tuesday. The Czech goalkeeper was substituted after 17 minutes with Sports trailing 3 goals to nothing in the Spanish capital, having made errors which led to Atletico's first and third goals. The Premier League side went on to lose the first leg of their last 16 tie, 5-2. Kingsley posted on his Instagram story, "Thanks for the messages. From dream to nightmare to dream again. See you." Several teammates consoled the 22-year-old as he made his way off the field. In Africa, the newly built Mole Abdullah Stadium has been crowned Stadium of the Year 2025 after topping the global fan vote among newly opened stadiums around the world. The state-of-the-art venue finished first with 14,481 points, emerging as the clear winner in a competition that featured 28 stadiums inaugurated in 2025 across different continents. According to the final result of the global poll organized by Stadium DB, the Moroccan facility dominated the voting process and won the contest by a margin of more than 4,000 points. The stadium finished ahead of the IBN Batuta Stadium, which secured second place in the ranking. The recognition highlights the impressive design, modern facilities, and architectural appeal of the Mole Abdullah Stadium, which has quickly become one of the most admired sporting venues in Africa and globally. The award further strengthens Morocco's growing reputation for world-class sport infrastructure as the country continues to invest heavily in modern stadiums ahead of major international competitions. The Angolan national football team will not play any friendly matches during the March FIFA international window after planned fixtures against Jordan and Iran were cancelled due to rising tension in the Middle East. The decision was announced on the 10th of March by the Angolan Football Federation (FAF) in an official statement shared on its social media platforms. Angola had initially scheduled two international friendlies in Dubai as part of its preparation, with matches planned against Jordan and Iran. However, escalating regional tensions and ongoing conflict in the Middle East prompted the Federation to reconsider the arrangements. In its statement, FAF said a worsening security situation in the region required a careful reassessment of the team's plans. The Angolan football authorities explained that the safety and well-being of the national team had to take priority over sporting considerations. Former captain of Nigeria's under-20 national football team, Daniel Daga, has been sentenced to 6 months in prison in Norway after a court found him guilty of committing a non-consensual sexual act. The midfielder who plays for Norwegian club Modi FK received a sentence following a legal proceedings in the Scandinavian country. Daga's lawyer has confirmed that the player intends to appeal the verdict, maintaining that the encounter in question was consensual. In response to the ruling, Modi FK released a statement acknowledging the court's decision and indicating that the player will not take part in matters for the time being. The case is expected to continue as Daga's legal team pursues an appeal against the verdict. German cross-country skier turned their backs on the Russian gold medalist on Winter Paralympic podium in protest against the nation's inclusion at the Games. For the first time since 2014, Russia's athletes are competing under their nation's flag at the Paralympics after the International Paralympic Committee lifted its suspension of the country in September. On Tuesday, Anastasia Begian and her guide Sergei Sinyakin won gold in the women's sprint classic one gold in the women's sprint classic vision impaired event. Russia's second of 3 golds at the game so far. As the national anthem played, the German Lisa Kazmaier and her guide Florian Buhmann, the silver medalist, turned their back to the Russian in protest. In Formula One, Frederick Vasseur says Ferrari still has tons of things to improve to build on their competitive opening to Formula One's new era, and that he was very pleased with Lewis Hamilton's start to his second season at the team. Ferrari ran championship favourite Mercedes closest during the last weekend's season opening Australian Grand Prix, with Charles Leclerc and Hamilton finishing third and fourth respectively, after challenging eventual race winner George Russell of Mercedes early on. Vassell said it was satisfied with the team's step forward in the Melbourne race after difficulties in qualifying, but added there was still much for them to get on top in the early stages of the Formula One's new look regulations, with the Chinese Grand Prix, the season's fourth sprint event, quickly next this weekend. In tennis, Great Britain's Cameron Norrie will meet world number one Carlos Alcaraz in the quarterfinals at Indian Wells. Norrie is yet to drop a set at this year's tournament and backed up by his win over the sixth seed Alex de Minaur in the previous round with an impressive 6-4 60 victory over world numbers 117 Rinky Jakarta in 1 hour and 16 minutes. Late on Wednesday, Alcaraz defeated the Norwegian 13th-seed Casper Ruud 6-1-7-6 to set up a game against Cameron Norrie. In basketball, African champions D Tigers thrashed Colombia 70 to 37 points in the opening fixture at the 2026 FIBA Women's World Cup qualifying tournament. Renal Kamel's side dominated the game, leading from three quarters. The Tigers led 18-12 in the opening quarter, but Colombian rallied in the second quarter. Niger fought back to win the third and fourth quarters. The West Africans will face Korea in the next game on Thursday. They will also face the Philippines, France, and Germany. In the NBA last night, Los Angeles Clippers defeated Minnesota Timberwolves 153 to 128 points. For Charlotte Hornets, they were victorious. Went to Sacramento Kings. They won 117 to 109 points. For Denver Nuggets, they were too good for Eastern Rockets to hand away too much. It ended 129 to 93 points. For New York Knicks, they got a victory over Utah Jazz 134 to 117-point massive win. For Orlando Magic, they defeated Cleveland Cavaliers 128 to 122 points. For New Orleans Pelicans, they recorded their victory by 11 points over Toronto Raptors. That game ended 122 to 111 points. That's all we have in the news. Talking point next. Manchester United fans will be laughing at home with the result recorded by English teams that failed to perform in the first leg of the round of 16 tie in Champions League. Let's forget about Newcastle United. They got a draw against Barcelona at home, and let's not focus too much on Arsenal. Had a disappointing game, losing their 100% performance in cup competition than in the Champions League yesterday when they played a 1-1 draw against Bayer Leverkusen. Let us talk about Manchester City. They were the favorite going into yesterday's game against Real Madrid, even at the Santiago. They were favorite not because they've won more Champions League titles than Real Madrid, not because they have better players than Real Madrid. Well, we can say they have a better coach, well-experienced coach than Real Madrid. They have more fit players than Real Madrid. But then it was Federico Valverde that decided what would happen in yesterday's game, and eventually 3-0. Manchester City were buried by Real Madrid, because it's Real Madrid. They can just wake up and perform well in the Champions League. They just have that aura about them, and they make sure that they punish Pep Guardiola, made him feel like an inexperienced coach, suffering from tactical decisions or overthinking things once again and failing to arrange a proper team. They were beaten by Real Madrid 3 goals to nothing. Now they have to return that favor, a remontada in at the Etihad Stadium is what we'll be praying for right now. But we have to tell you that Real Madrid were way too good, and I hope that that penalty that Vinicius Junior missed won't come back to haunt them. Why I said this was in 2000 and I can't remember, was it 2022? I can't remember that year when Barcelona defeated Liverpool at the Camp Nou, 3 goals to nothing. Lionel Messi ran that show, scored a fantastic free kick. Dembele came into the game and missed two good chances that could have made it 5 goals to nothing. But when Barcelona went back to Anfield, they were beaten at Anfield, beaten mercilessly and dumped out of the Champions League. So for Vinicius Junior missed the penalty yesterday. I knew that if the game was at 1 goal to nothing, or maybe it was scoreless, and that was the first penalty that he got in the game, it would have taken it a different way entirely. Vinicius don't take penalties the way he did yesterday against Manchester City, and he messed that up so badly. But Manchester City, they have an Herculean task on their hands, on their palms. They have to find a way to get a win against Real Madrid, and not just a win, to knock Real Madrid out with the disadvantage that they've put in their DSF right now. And you also look at Chelsea. Chelsea played well against PSG. They played fantastic football against PSG until the 75th minute. Yes, Liam Rossley has instructed his keepers to start building from behind so that you don't lose possession in the midfield, so that you're in control of the narrative. But does he have keepers that can do that? Sanchez was benched after Arsenal knocked them out. After Arsenal defeated them in the Premier League, and those errors from Sanchez, consecutive errors from Sanchez, means it can't build from behind for Chelsea, and they brought in Jorgensen. Chelsea were having a good day. 2-2 was a good day. There's nothing you want to say. 2-2 was a good day against this PSG team. And Chelsea could have even gone on to win the game because they had the impetus, they had the energy, they had the momentum, and they had the players to maybe do it, even though they didn't play at the highest level. But then he tried to play from behind. Brandy Bacola passed to Vitinha. They got that third goal. 3 goals to 2 against PSG is not too bad at the Parc des Princes. You can just finish them off at Stamford Bridge. But then they allowed Varashelia dominated them in that game. They allowed Varashelia to dominate them in that game, and he scored twice. 2 good goals, and you look at the fifth goal that they considered, goals that they could have avoided. Now they have to find a way to stop PSG from scoring at Stamford Bridge, and they have to score 3. So it's a massive work for Premier League teams. 4 of those Premier League teams have conceded by 3 goals. You look at Tottenham, they were I think 3 of them, yes, not 4. Tottenham were beaten by Atletico Madrid, 5 goals to 2. Chelsea were beaten by PSG, 5 goals to 2. Manchester City were humiliated. Pep Guardiola was shameful. They were humiliated yesterday, 3 goals to 0. And Galatasaray defeated Liverpool, yes, 1 goal to 0. They can easily overturn that. So sad one for Premier League teams. The result from last night, Bodo Glimt have continued their fairy tale performance by picking apart Sporting Lisbon, 3 goals to 0. They outplayed Sporting Lisbon in that game. 3 goals to 0, it ended. So let's hear from Trent Alexander-Arnold. Premier League teams thought they were going to batter Real Madrid, and who had the jokes to laugh last night. The joke is on Manchester City. Yes, Manchester City lost 3 goals to 0, and Real Madrid fans had the cheeks for jokes last night.
massive performance. I think a lot of the noise when the draw happened and then leading up to this game, especially the way that we've been playing the last few games and the results we've had, a lot of people just expected us to get battered tonight. But it just shows the mentality. It doesn't matter what injuries you've got, what players out. This competition means a lot to the club, and us as players, we understand that. So go out there and they support us like that. Anyone can win, and we've absolutely executed the game plan perfectly in the first half. Of course, I think I think people will say that they're favourites, and going off results and the way that both teams have been playing. It could have been true, but when you get to knockout football in the Champions League, anyone can beat anyone. So we had confidence coming into this game. We knew our game plan, we executed it, and we scored our goals very, very ruthlessly. Yeah. I think obviously the size of the game I think is the main thing. I don't want to say that other games are less important, but when there's so much hype around the game and so much eyes on it as a player, you need to perform. Especially when you play for a club like this, the expectation is there's no excuses.
All right, for Abeloa, he said it's Real Madrid. Everything is expected of them, even to win, to step it up in the Champions League.
For supporters, we knew that this difficult was going to be really, really difficult, but we beat Manchester City, so we need to rest and think in the next game, but it's not over. Well, maybe yes. I know that we have a lot of injuries and important players that they were not here tonight, but the commitment of the players, the work that they have done tonight, how they fight, how they run, how they help each other. So I am so proud of my players. But like I said, it's not over. We need to carry on and fight in Manchester. Amazing. I think it's a night for him that he will remember in his entire life. So amazing night for him, for all of us, but especially happy for Valverde because he's our captain, so he deserves it. Yeah.
All right, for Kvaratskhelia came in to score a brace and perform and got the man of the match against Chelsea at the Park to Princes. This is what he had to say coming from the bench to effect that game and ensure 3 goals advantage for PSG.
I think there is no football player that wants to start on the bench, so but we know that we have very good players in the attack, so I respect what coach decides. I will concentrated. For me, doesn't matter. It will be 10 or 90 minutes. I want to give my 100%, so I did today, and I think it's not only my performance, it was team performance very good, and we won against Chelsea with 3 more goals, so it's important we have next game, and we just have to be focused because it's not unfinished. I think the great thing for me it was that even it was 4-2, we wanted to score more goal, and we were in the last section. We did like great job. All the players we make very good counter-attack. So I think this is the main reason for PSG that we want to continue, and we will try to do everything for this Champions League.
All right, for Luis Enrique, I'm not sure I expected this kind of victory. You expect the champions. PSG to step up at every point in time, and just like they did last season when they started playing fantastic street football from the playoffs, they've also started this season also, and yes, it was Chelsea that they took to the cleaners. They whitewashed Chelsea yesterday 5-2, despite the fact that the scoreline didn't tell the major story, but it's 5-2, my friend. Chelsea were like, bring in PSG. We defeated them in the Club World Cup final. We gonna do it again. Do you let me see PSG fans? Do you let me see Chelsea fans? It's just crazy. It ended for them. And this is Enrique talking about the game, the victory for PSG over Chelsea. Right, for Arsenal, disappointing performance for Arsenal yesterday against Bayer Leverkusen because if you look at the Premier League team, Arsenal got a fairer team to play against. If Arsenal had played like this against Galatasaray, Galatasaray would have defeated them. If Arsenal played like they did against Leverkusen, against PSG, it's definitely a sure defeat. If Arsenal played like this against Real Madrid, they would have lost also. But it was a shambolic performance from Arsenal. They wasted the whole of the first half after that shot from Martinelli that struck the crossbar. They had just one shot on target until Kai Havertz converted that the penalty against his former team. But apart from that, the likes of Bukayo Saka was substituted in that game because he had a stinking performance. Apart from Bukayo Saka, you also look at the likes of William Saliba, Berechi Eze. They couldn't create anything in the game. It was a sad performance from Arsenal. But then